the deep dive. Today, we're grappling with a massive source stack. It's a truly wild blend of business strategy, market regulation, some fundamental philosophy, and the hard limits of knowledge itself.
It is ambitious, but it's all connected, I think, by a single powerful human drive. The whole mission for this deep dive is to explore the frameworks, the systems, the rules, the logic that we create to try and structure and, analyze, predict, and ultimately control the world.
Right, the chaos of the world.
Exactly, whether you're building a multi-billion-dollar company or just, contemplating destiny.
Exactly. We're going to start practical, looking at some of the tools that promise strategic clarity, and then we're going to take a necessary deep plunge into the philosophical hard limits. I'm talking chaos, unpredictability, determinism. You'll walk away with some truly surprising facts about decision making. So let's start with a classic, the tool you probably learned on day one of business school, SWOT analysis.
Yes, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
It's revered for its simplicity.
And its widespread adoption is, it's understandable, it's intuitive. It forces organizations to categorize things, internal resources like strengths and weaknesses, and then external factors, the opportunities and threats. But that's simplicity. It's a real double-edged sword.
We see that critique immediately in the sources. That if you use it too simply, it becomes what critics call a naive tool.
A naive tool, yeah.
And it risks some really fundamental strategic errors. Because strategy in the real world is thematic. It's rarely so systematic. It's often incremental, non-rational, organic.
Think about what a naive SWOT looks like. It's a static list, right? Generated once in a retreat, filed away, and then just forgotten. The real key insight, the thing that elevates SWOT from a checklist to a useful tool, is that it has to be a dynamic management process.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
Its greatest value is in encouraging a structured strategic dialogue among everyone involved. Stakeholders.
So the matrix itself isn't the goal. The argument you have while you're filling it out, that's the point.
That's it, exactly. You're building consensus, not just categorizing facts. It shifts the focus from a mechanistic output to a continuous collaborative effort.
Okay, so if SWOT is about finding the right questions through dialogue, our next framework is about finding the right answers through math. Let's talk about the analytic hierarchy process, or AHP.
AHP sounds intimidating, but it's a proven method for transforming decisions, especially when you have multiple conflicting criteria.
Which is always.
Right, always. AHP is basically a mathematical tool for structuring that complexity and, crucially, for reducing the noise and the bias that just clouds our judgment.
How does it actually manage that? How does it quantify things?
It works by breaking down a really complex choice. Let's say picking a new factory location into a hierarchy, a multi-level hierarchy of criteria. Then, instead of trying to weight all 5 criteria at once, which is impossible, AHP uses pairwise comparison.
So you compare just 2 things at a time?
Just 2. You compare criterion A to criterion B, then A to C, and so on. Usually on that 1 to 9 scale that Sydney found.
So instead of asking how important is cost compared to speed and quality, you're just asking how much more important is cost than speed?
Precisely. That one-on-one comparison is so much easier for the human brain to handle reliably. You might say, cost is moderately more important than speed, and that gets a 3 on the scale. AHP then takes all those tiny judgments and synthesizes them mathematically to produce objective weights for every criterion.
And the applications are just everywhere. I mean, it's used for resource allocation, assessing risk in petroleum pipelines, selecting university faculty,
and even quantifying the quality of software systems. Microsoft has used it. It's a mechanism for injecting some real rational rigor into messy decisions.
Sticking with these action frameworks for just a moment, we should probably mention the customer-facing side, the ADA model.
Attention, interest, desire, action. It's an enduring, powerful structure for mapping the customer journey.
It's timeless because it just aligns with how we think. And that final stage, action, is so often driven by a call to action, a CTA, with some kind of time restriction. Order now.
Right? Limited time offer. That pressure is a tool. It's designed to force that movement from desire into action. This whole process analysis, formulation, implementation, what they call the AFI framework, it all shows our relentless drive for structure control.
Okay, so now let's take that strategic drive and see what happens when it becomes ruthless. We're moving from internal strategy to external warfare and the legal frameworks designed to stop market abuse. Let's talk predatory pricing.
Predatory pricing is all about intent. It's setting prices unsustainably low, often below your own cost of production, with one goal: drive your competitors out of business.
And
Then, once they're gone, you raise prices to recoup all your losses and exploit your new monopoly.
And this isn't new. John D. Rockefeller and Standard Oil faced these accusations ages ago, but we still see it today. Walmart was found guilty in Arkansas, and Amazon used really aggressive pricing to acquire diapers.com.
But here's the massive legal hurdle. You have to prove that intent. A company can always claim a legitimate reason for low prices.
Like a clearance sale or something.
Exactly. Or maybe they had a genuine cost saving. Or it's just, temporary penetration pricing to enter a market. Because the law demands proof of intent to monopolize, enforcement is incredibly difficult.
So the legal system is constantly grappling with this tension. And that leads us right to the antitrust laws, like Section 2 of the Sherman Act.
Right, which prohibits conduct that creates or maintains a monopoly through improper means.
But what about when it's not overt predation, but quiet collusion? Price-fixing claims, for instance, often have to rely on circumstantial evidence.
They do. They look for what's called conscious parallelism, where rivals all start acting in similar ways that seem a little too convenient to be a coincidence. But to prove it's actually collusion, you need more. You need plus factors.
And what are plus factors in the real world?
They're just additional pieces of evidence that suggest collusion. Things like a highly concentrated market, maybe unusual communication between competitors, or behavior that just doesn't make economic sense on its own.
And the sources really highlighted critical details here. The courts have to look at all the evidence holistically.
This is so important. You can't let a sophisticated cartel get away with it just by making sure one plus factor, like direct communication, is missing. The courts can't treat the absence of one piece of evidence as, proof of innocence. If the whole pattern, taken together, smells like collusion, that has to be enough.
Let's pivot to a different kind of control. Local rent control laws. This is a fiercely debated topic everywhere.
The political debate is fierce, yes, but the consensus among economists is, it's almost universally condemnatory. One major survey showed 93% of economists agree that a ceiling on rents reduces the quality and quantity of housing available.
93%. That's a level of agreement you almost never see on a policy issue, so why is the evidence so strong against it?
The empirical evidence is just devastating. The perceived benefit to current tenants is very visible, but the negative consequences are often diffused and harder to see.
So what are they? Break it down for us.
Okay, first, you inhibit new construction. After rent controls were imposed in Cambridge and Brookline, Massachusetts, rental units dropped by 8 and 12%. Second, existing housing deteriorates.
Landlords lose the incentive to maintain it.
They lose the incentive and the capital. The RAND Corporation found that in LA, 63% of the consumer benefit was just offset by the loss of housing from deterioration and disinvestment.
So you pay less for a place that's falling apart.
Pretty much. And then the city government gets hit too. New York City lost an estimated $370 million a year in the late 80s from reduced property taxes. And don't forget the bureaucracy. Santa Monica's rent control board had a budget over $4 million just to control 28,000 apartments.
Wow. And on top of all that, there's even a legal argument that rent control itself might violate federal antitrust laws. It's this attempt to control that just creates massive new layers of cost and complexity. Okay, let's move from these external controls to the internal mechanics of the mind. How does AI impact human learning? Let's use cognitive load theory as our framework.
Cognitive load theory is so important here. The promise of AI in education is that it can reduce the unnecessary cognitive load, the busy work.
Right, scheduling, basic grading, logistics.
Exactly, it frees up mental energy. But there's a huge paradox.
And what's that?
If AI handles too much, we risk eliminating the absolutely essential cognitive load, the deep thinking, the struggle. Learning involves deep thought about fundamental issues. If we protect teachers from too much complexity, we might accidentally strip away the very struggle that leads to real insight.
It's about drawing the line between busy work and fundamental work. And we see a similar limitation when we look at AI models themselves.
Absolutely. A current generative AI is trained to continue things, to mimic mathematical language based on statistics. It is not trained to know when it's right.
So it can look right, but be completely wrong.
And it proceeds with total confidence down a path of error. It doesn't have that intuition that human mathematicians like Ramanujan had. He would chase ideas that just felt right, even if he couldn't prove them yet. He knew when to stop or pivot. AI, it lacks that felt sense of correctness.
which is why we often turn to the wisdom of the crowd. We try to improve collective intelligence with things like gamification.
Right, using leaderboards, points, badges to improve engagement in everything from education to healthcare.
And it works great for, say, promoting healthy habits. But in paid crowdsourcing platforms like Amazon MTurk, the whole dynamic flips.
It flips because the workers there are primarily extrinsically motivated. They're there for the money.
And that's where you get this counterintuitive effect, the motivation crowding effect.
Exactly. The sources show that when you introduce an extrinsic reward, like money, it can actually decrease intrinsic motivation. You turn something someone enjoyed doing into a transaction, and suddenly gamification can become way less effective.
That's a huge insight for managing distributed workforces. But crowdsourcing is still vital for solving really complex objective problems.
Oh, for sure. It's used to overcome challenges like overfitting in diagnostic models for things like psychiatric conditions. The best example, I think, is the game Fold It,
where players are folding proteins.
They're manipulating protein structures, basically doing scientific research through a game. And what's so fascinating is that to be useful, players have to pass these extensive training levels. The game successfully abstracts the insane complexity of molecular physics into game features so that everyday people can contribute valid solutions to real research.
Now we take that quest for structure to its ultimate test, the philosophical limits of prediction. We had to confront determinism.
The biggest framework of them all, the idea that all events are made inevitable by prior conditions and the laws of physics, the future is fixed.
And this is summed up by Pierre-Simon Laplace's thought experiment, right?
Yeah.
Laplace's demon.
The theoretical superhuman, yes. If this demon knew the precise location and momentum of every single particle in the universe, it could predict every future moment and know every past moment. The universe as a giant clockwork machine.
The philosophical weight of that is, it's immense. If that Brockton murder example from the sources was truly inevitable, then regret is just an absurd emotion.
It makes regret illogical. The universe has an incurable flaw because what ought to have happened, a better outcome, was, in fact, physically impossible. It just eradicates agency.
But this deterministic framework, as compelling as it is, it runs into a wall.
A huge mathematical and computational wall. That wall is chaos theory.
The famous butterfly effect.
Exactly. Chaos theory shows that many systems have extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. A tiny, unmeasurable change, a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil, can lead to a tornado in Texas. Predictability is lost very quickly.
And then there's computational irreducibility, which is an even harder limit.
It is. It's a mathematical, hard, lower bound. Think of it this way. Predicting the stock market is computationally reducible. You can try to build a model that runs faster than the market itself, but predicting the output of a specific, complex process, like a chemical reaction simulated atom by atom, is often computationally irreducible.
Meaning, what exactly?
Meaning, the most efficient way to know the outcome is to run the simulation. There is no shortcut. The process itself is the shortest path to the answer. Not even Laplace's demon can get around that. So even if the universe is deterministic, it remains fundamentally unpredictable to any observer inside it.
So we're struggling to predict the universe, which brings us all the way back to the foundation of structured thought, Aristotle. He's called the engineer of reality because he focused on observation and logic.
Unlike Plato's metaphysical realms, Aristotle established the absolute need for first principles. These had to be clear, simple, self-evident, and univocal, only one meaning, the core one being the principle of non-contradiction.
Nothing can both be and not be at the same time and in the same respect.
And here's the key connection. If you reject those bedrock principles, you get immediate conceptual incoherence. You get the chaos we were just talking about. To even begin to predict anything, you have to accept that A is A.
It's the anchor against the tide. So finally, let's bring this ultimate unpredictability back down to individual success. Great talent is necessary, but the sources say absolutely not sufficient to reach the highest levels.
The research points very clearly to the importance of luck, random chance. It's often called the Matthew effect, where the rich get richer. A small advantage from luck gets amplified over time through positive feedback loops.
And that finding that luck matters more than talent at the very top has huge policy implications.
Oh, absolutely. It runs counter to our whole narrative of meritocracy. If you design a funding strategy purely to identify excellence and concentrate your resources there, studies show you hit diminishing returns fast. A strategy focused on diversification of ideas, funding a wider array of proposals, is likely to be way more productive. It acknowledges that early success is often just chance.
What a tension we've covered today. this human drive for robust, predictable frameworks, SWOT, AHP, the law constantly clashing with the irreducible, non-rational, unpredictable nature of reality itself.
It's why some people try to eliminate ambiguity entirely. You mentioned the constructed language Lodgebond, which was based on mathematical logic. The creators literally eliminated all homophones, all vague words, to ensure every expression was simple and had zero ambiguity.
That quest for ultimate clarity is noble, but makes you wonder. If we know that our own minds struggle with concepts like infinity concepts that only become manageable through simplified analogies or pure logic, should our ultimate goal really be to achieve that perfect Lodgebond-like clarity? Or should we instead just become supremely adept at navigating the necessary and maybe even beneficial uncertainties of the world?
A profound thought, something to mull over until our next deep dive.